Hi, welcome to the String Theory podcast. My name is Emily. This is episode 4. Yay! This is a podcast about knitting, mostly, some sewing. Hopefully there will be more in the next, in the future. There hasn't been much. And making a handmade wardrobe. Again, hopefully there will be more in the future. There hasn't been much, but I'm really into knitting right now, so that's what it is. That's why it's called the String Theory Podcast. This is not a podcast about space or physics. So I'm sorry if that's what you came for, but if you came for knitting, I'm not sorry because you're in for a treat. I live in Brooklyn, New York with my boyfriend, Tim, and my cat, Lola. She's a big cat. She's sitting right here on my project bag. So that's her. She's my buddy. Okay, so I work as a seamstress, kind of. I work at a Broadway costume shop in New York City. And I'm a cutter, so I'm not a seamstress, but we make custom garments at my shop. I have a couple of new subscribers. Hi, welcome. Thank you so much for checking me out. I hope you've enjoyed what you've seen so far. It's been 3 weeks since I last uploaded, so you haven't heard from me in a while, but last weekend I was super obsessed with a mystery knit-along. Not the Hokey mystery knit-along. If you are enjoying that one, that's really cool. I've been really enjoying seeing all the pictures for that, but I have been obsessed with the different ones, which I'll get into in works in progress. So, it's Me Made May, and which, if you don't know, it's Me Made May is like an Instagram thing, but people who sew and like to sew their own clothes post pictures of stuff that they've sewn themselves in the month of May. And as you may have guessed from watching me fidget with my shirt, this is a shirt that I made, and so I'm wearing it in honor of Me Made May. It is a Burda pattern. And in the picture the model is like wearing it with like this skirt that, goes like this. Like it's a waist cinching or whatever skirt. And it looks really good like that. And it's made out of chambray, which I love chambray, but if I were to do this again, and maybe I will do this again, I wouldn't make it out of chambray because chambray has a lot of body. Like it's a light denim basically. It's nice. Like I have a chambray shirt that's the style of a men's button-down shirt that I really like. Kind of because it's not regular shirting fabric. Like I like that it's a little bit heavier and like more heavy duty. I don't know. But this just seems like it needs to be softer. So if I do it again, I will make it out of something a little bit more lightweight. I'm kind of sensitive to air conditioning. I find that like people over air condition places a lot of the time, and my work is one of those places. So this is kind of nice because it's like professional looking enough, and it keeps me a little bit warmer than like a regular t-shirt, because the cotton's pretty heavy, the fabric, chambray. So it's good for work. But the thing is, I don't really feel like it's my style anymore. And I have this, I have this idea in my head about creating a handmade wardrobe that like really expresses my personal style, and sort of trying to find my personal style again through creating a handmade wardrobe, because for the last 4 years I've worked full-time. Before that I was a freelance costume designer, so I was really like creatively expressive in my clothing, and I loved it. I wore a lot of like colorful vintage stuff. I wore a lot of dresses. I wore a lot of jewelry. I felt like I spent like a good amount of time every morning making myself look great, look and feel great. And I just felt awesome. That being said, like I was probably 10 or 15 pounds heavier than I am now, so I think I like actually look better now, but my style is very pared down to something that's kind of like, it doesn't make me feel good anymore. So, like the clothes I wear, it's just utilitarian. When I moved to New York, I became obsessed with like fashion a little bit, but not really mainstream fashion, just sort of like looking at people's clothes and being like, I want to do that. I want to make that for myself. I really wanted to I've been wanting to make my own clothes for a really long time, but I thought that I was kind of crazy, and that because I know nobody else in my life who wants to do that at all. But I recently discovered all these YouTube knitting podcasts. And then I discovered that like all of these knitters, or some of these knitters on YouTube want to make their own clothes and like are doing that. And so then I was like, and like I started commenting on people's things, if they're having a problem with their sewing project. And, I found that there was a good response for that. So then I discovered this whole world of people who make their own clothes, like the indie sewing community. And I had no idea that even existed. And I kind of have been feeling like, why am I not doing this? Like, why am I not making patterns? Anyway, so the whole point of that story was to bring up this Instagram post that I saw that really inspires me, and is sort of like the reason, speaks to part of the reason why I really want to do this project. So this was the post. This girl who says, I made my own clothes. And like blurb says, this is my fight, and I will be an advocate for sustainable fashion forever. Your impact in this world does matter. That includes your fashion choices. Think about the people behind those made in tags. They deserve a happy and healthy life just like you. You have so many choices to live a more sustainable life, and they don't have to be expensive choices. I proudly make my clothes. I proudly use my free time behind my sewing machine and create garments with the perfect fit and insane quality. I proudly find thrift store clothes to remake and recycled fabrics to use in my handbags. This is important. This is happening. Be informed. #fashion revolution. So I love that. I think that's really inspiring. That's why I want to do it, because it's really an environmental thing for me. And then also what I previously mentioned about finding my personal style again, feeling good again about the way I look and the way I feel. All right, so that's that super epic topic. Sorry that I rambled. I'm not sorry. Never say you're sorry for things that are not, like if you did something bad, say you're sorry. But don't apologize for being you, Emily. Okay, so I'm going to go to finished objects now. It's long overdue. Okay, so my finished object is a pair of DK weight socks. And I posted these on Instagram, so you might have already seen them. They're a little dirty. I'm sorry. I've been wearing them. But these are great. I will post on the screen the designer name. This was a test knit for somebody. So I kind of want to be a knitwear designer. Uh, but I thought maybe like the first step would be could be to test knit some things for people. And so I reached out to this person on Instagram and offered to test knit for her. Don't remember her name, so I'll put the again info on the screen. The yarn that I used is this. It's Madeline Tosh DK in her Outlander colorway. So I got this for Christmas. It's not my favorite yarn color. It's like the color. I'm sorry, Charmaine, if you're watching this. I love you. My old roommate got it for me, which was really, really, really sweet of her. I don't know. It's not my favorite thing. Whatever. It's pretty, but it just doesn't make my heart sing, you know. So yeah, I decided to. It had been wanting to be slippers. So when I saw this pattern for DK weight house socks, I sort of jumped on the opportunity, which was a little bit scary, you know, like kind of like reaching out to a stranger. To be like, yes, I'll test knit your socks, but it's not like a well-known designer or anything, so she, you know, those spots are a little harder to get usually, I think. And so she said yes, and she said she wanted them test knit because the stitch pattern, I guess, was like to make the numbers for the stitch pattern work. She had to go down 2 stitches for the total like number of stitches that you would cast on for the circumference of this sock. And she suggested that you go up a needle size for this medium size sock, for that reason, because you have 2 fewer stitches going around. So I did, and it ended up meant calling for a size 5 DPNs, and I did that, and they were huge, so I knit them on a size 4, my wonderful trusty signatures. So that enabled me to do, for the first time ever, 2 at a time, magic loop. This is magic loop, which I really enjoyed. It was not so, it was not so easy. I get why people don't like it, but for me, the peace of mind of because I did toe up, for me, the peace of mind of like knowing for sure that I was not going to run out of yarn, like if I made one. If you do them one at a time and you like knit to a certain length, you don't know if you've used more than half. It's hard to tell if you've used more than half. So like that's why knitting 2 at a time toe up is great, because you can just go until you feel like stopping or until you've run out of yarn. So for me, and also I've had a problem recently when I've knit socks of them not being the same as each other. So when you knit 2 at a time, toe up, not only do you know that you are going to have enough yarn, but you also know that your socks are going to be exactly the same as each other. And I did the toe 2 at a time on magic loop toe up, and I did the heel 2 at a time magic loop toe up. So it was great. The only thing that I will say that I won't do in the future, it was a good learning experience, was so I used 1 ball of yarn and doing this, and some of you probably are like, no, why'd you do that, or whatever. But if you've never done this before, so when you pull 2 strands at once, like you're pulling from the center, this is pulling from the center, and then this one is pulling, is like doing this. So it automatically wraps around itself, as you can see. So what I will do in the future is if I have a single ball of yarn, I'll split it in half and make 2 balls. Because if you like keep turning your project, you know, like you knit to the end of the row and you like turn it and then you like turn it again like this, then you'll get a twist. But if you turn it sort of like back and forth, then you will not get a twist. And Mina Phillip from the Knitting Expat podcast has a good little short video that's called How I Knit My Socks 2 at a Time, Toe Up, or something like that. And she really illustrates in detail, like, you know, her method for not keeping the yarn untangled. But what she doesn't mention in that video, which I found, I mean, I discovered the hard way, is you have to use 2 balls of yarn. Don't use 1. It gets really tangly. Okay, but I love these. And I'm not sure that I mentioned, but they ended up too big anyway, even though I went down to a size 4. But they're not as big as they would be on a size 5, and like, I don't know, I just went ahead and finished them, and they're a little too big, but they're not going to go in shoes. They're going to be my little house slipper socks. So yeah, they're super cute. And the thing is, okay, so here's my new thing. We're full of stories today. So Tim, my boyfriend, is a designer also, which I love. I love that we have that in common. It's like my favorite thing in the whole world. I don't think I've ever had anything in common with a boyfriend like that's as like central to who I am as a human being, as I have with him. So I love him. Anyway, so but we talk about like sort of these theories a lot, and one of the things that we talk about all the time is this story he tells me about, like, this study that was done with like potters. And so one group of potters was told to do like a perfect job and make sure their pots were absolutely perfect before moving on to the next one. And then another group of potters were told to make as many pots as they possibly can. Make them as good as they could, but just do it. Like, produce as many as possible. And what they found in the end was that the group who did as many as possible did ultimately better quality work because they just practiced a lot. Like, a lot of the pots were crap in the beginning, but then they just kept doing them, and, you know, anyway, so that's the sort of philosophy that I've been trying to apply to my work. Okay, so let's go into whips now. So I have to say, not all that much has changed since the last time I podcasted with my Makariri shawl or my Bronwyn. Nothing has changed with the Bronwyn sweater. The Makariri shawl, I did end up ripping out the lace section, so I'll show you that real quick. I'm really happy that I did. It. It's always like painful to rip something out, but I'm just going to show you it real quick. So this is the Makariri shawl by Aroha Knits. So I had a lace section that I had a terrible tragedy on. I ripped out a bunch of rows by accident. I had a cream colored lace section right here, and it didn't look good. So not only did it come out and I didn't know how to fix it, but it didn't look good, so I ripped it out, and I'm happy I did. And all these live stitches are here, and I'm not even being careful. But to be honest, none of them have come out, but I really need to put them on a needle or something because that's a little dangerous. I'm gonna put that up there so I do make sure to do that after this podcast. Lola. So I won't show you the Bronwyn sweater because it's literally exactly the same as the last time I podcasted. But I will tell you a funny story, which is that I know somebody who knows the designer of that sweater. I was in a design meeting with two of my friends who are fashion designers. So one of the girls is a sweater designer for a company called Hampshire, which does like a lot of JCPenney, Kohl's and places like that, sweaters for them. And she knows Melissa Whirl, like, because they went to FIT together, and Melissa is the one who designed the Bronwyn sweater. And so she was showing me her profile on Ravelry, and I was like, I have that sweater on my needles, like, right now. So that was funny. And hopefully that means I'll get to meet her someday. Like, how amazing is that? New York is so cool. New York is so cool. Okay, so the next thing that I'm going to show you is my Find Your Fade, because I haven't knit on it for a while since the Mystery Knit-Along came about, but I do have some significantly more on it than I did when I showed you last. So I'm going to show you. So I was using my signature needles for this, but I took my signature needles off to do the Mystery Knit-Along. So it's just but this one's on a needle. Anyway, so this is the Find Your Fade. I really like it. I didn't pick any of these, I didn't pick this gradient. It's a Knit Picks kit. So yeah, I think that I had this much, maybe this. I was here the last time, and now I'm all the way up to here. And this was so easy and fast. I just started knitting flicking. I used to be a continental knitter for 10 years, and then I was getting a lot of pain in my wrist, and so I just started flicking. And I know that everybody says that continental knitting is really fast, and it is. It's fast, but flicking is faster. Flicking is faster. I've been getting a ton more speed. My gauge is really wildly different than continental. When I was continental knitting, I was a little too tight, and now I'm too loose by a lot. So that's kind of unfortunate. Hopefully I'll learn to get a little tighter, but the wrist pain is totally gone, so it's worth it. It was worth it for me to switch. It was hard to learn. I mean, it felt really weird. It felt like I was I can never ever do this, but I did it. So, and I'm happy I did. So these are the ones that I have left for the Find Your Fade. I kind of can't wait to get back to it because I just love the fading. I don't know what is wrong with me that me liking something that everybody else likes makes me hate myself. I mean, I don't hate myself, but I really don't hate myself, but I just want to be different all the time. And I think it's because I'm a rebel. Okay, so if you haven't, this is really unstructured today, but who fucking cares, right? Sorry for the swear. If you haven't heard of Gretchen Rubin, go and consume her content immediately because she's amazing. she's all about, I mean, she wrote the book called Happiness, or like Happier or something. I didn't read her book, but I listened to her podcast because I listen to podcasts at work every single day, and it's called the Happier Podcast. And so she talks about what she calls the four tendencies, which are basically, I mean, they're personality types, but it's like in the category of how you meet expectations. And the four categories are upholder, obliger, questioner, and rebel. So upholders can easily meet expectations, whether they're inner or outer expectations. Obligers have a hard time meeting inner expectations, but they will readily meet expectations of other people. Like, not everybody, but like people that they respect and don't want to let down. Questioners, my boyfriend is a questioner. They will like do research about something exhaustively and then only meet expectations if it makes sense to them. So for a long time, I thought that that was me. Like, I took the quiz and I thought that that was me. And that could still be like mostly what I am, but I really think that I'm a rebel. And rebels like have a hard time meeting outer and inner expectations. And that is totally me. Like, it's really hard for me to make myself do stuff at all. And I really like, as soon as somebody tells me what they think that I should do, I immediately want to do the opposite thing just because I want to be a contrarian. Like, I just do. And it's like, I kind of love that about myself. Like, it kind of makes me be like, yeah, I'm a rebel. Like, I'm so cool. But it's also really hard to live that way, you know, and I can't change. I mean, like, I don't believe in the word can't, I guess, but I struggle with this issue a lot, like, all the time. So, anyway. Okay, so now we've come to the part where I get to talk about the Sosu Mystery Knit Along 2017, and I'm so excited because this is what I was obsessively knitting last weekend, which is why I didn't podcast. I was just like, I am doing this. So, it's really unusual for me to have this many projects on my needles, and every time I put a new one on, Tim gets like anxiety, which I think is so funny. Like, he's just like stressed out that I have so many different things that I'm not like finishing them. But it's kind of good because actually, like, before I was just knitting on like one thing at a time, but I was like dreaming about all of these things, you know? And so the things that I have on my project, it's on my needles, it's not just like whims. They were all specifically planned out projects that I just sort of started to that I just happened to start all at once. And now they're all like physical and not just like taking up space in my head, giving me anxiety. So actually, like, I mean, having a lot of projects it's frustrating because I'm not like getting anything done right now. It was a stroke of luck that I had one finished object to show you after 3 weeks, but it does actually like relieve some anxiety for me to have everything out in the physical world instead of just like in my head. So, and this one included, the Mystery Knit Along included, because Suzanne Sommer is my favorite designer, and she announced this Mystery Knit Along like many weeks ago, like, you know, maybe a month and a half ago or something like that. And I had all of these different projects planned. I talked about this on a previous podcast. And I wasn't sure I was going to do it. And I kind of like, I mean, I was thinking like, maybe I'll use my Find Your Fade yarn for it instead of doing the Find Your Fade. But I just decided to do the Find Your Fade, and I'm happy that I did. So I was thinking, like, I don't really have the yarn for this, and I don't really want to buy any yarn because, you guys, I don't get paid anything at my job. So, like, I can't really afford, and I want to quit my job. I'm planning to quit my job. So, like, I have to be saving money right now. So I decided not to get any yarn. And I was just like, oh, I'm just going to, like, do the projects that I have right now. I have a million projects on my needles. So, like, I don't need to start another one. I don't need to buy more yarn. And then it started, and I was just like, having the worst FOMO. So I just decided to do it. And I didn't buy any yarn. I just decided that I was going to knit from stash. I don't know why I didn't think of that before. Well, I did think of that, but the thing is, like, my stash, I mean, it's a lot of it is really old. So, like, it needs to get knit, but it also kind of means that I'm not super in love with it anymore. Which is why it hasn't gotten knit for like 10 years or something in some cases. So anyway, I am doing the mystery knit along, and I'm knitting from stash. And the colors that I'm not super in love with the colors. So that's the only thing that, like, kind of sucks, because I'm putting all this time into it. I feel like I should totally love it, but hopefully I will, because I really love the pattern, and, like, it's a 3-color project, and the first 2 colors, I'm not crazy about how they look together, but the third color is sort of like a brighter one that I'm hoping will liven it up a little bit. And so I'll show you. But, so, what I wanted to show you first, though, was my first try. So Suzanne Sommer, like, knits with really bright colors all the time. She's sort of, like, has a Stephen West color palette, but, so this is what I chose because it really seemed to scream Suzanne Sommer. So it's like a, really cute brioche pattern. And so I was knitting on this, and honestly, I was not loving the colors at the time. Now, I love this color combination. So I have a feeling like what I'm feeling now about my other one may get better because
Hey, what'd I miss?
Hi.
Oh, just bombed it. Sorry.
It's okay. You can say hi to the podcast listeners,
Podcast
viewers.
World. Hi, podcast world. You'll cut that out, right?
Nope. Okay, he's so cute. Okay, so, what was I saying? Okay, so this is a size 6 needle. It's an Addy Turbo lace needle, and it's a fixed needle, and it's a size 6, like I said, and it's like 32 inches long or something. So I was knitting on this, and I was like, ugh, this stupid Addy needle is not as good as my signature needle. Like, I wish I was knitting this on my signatures. And then, like I was saying earlier, I'm a super loose knitter, so this just ended up being looking way too loose for me, and I was, like, a little concerned about it. And then the third thing is that with this color combination, I would have had to buy more yarn. And I'm on the yarn diet, like I was mentioning, so I decided to start over and do a different color combo with yarn that would be enough, that all goes together, and do it on a size 4. Then I saw that Suzanne Sommer had released a YouTube video about her first clue, and I watched through the whole thing, and she said, she was like, don't worry if it looks too big, like if it's knitting up too, like it looks like it's knitting up too loose, because it's going to be a drapey shawl, and like this is going to open up really nicely like this. So she was saying it's going to like open up, which I think will look really nice. But whatever. I mean, I stuck with what I'm doing because I am a loose knitter, like, on top of what I think is already a loose shawl. Like, I'm even more loose than that, like my knitting. So, I'm okay with the size 4. Also, I have 50 yards less than I'm supposed to have for one of the colors. So I'm hoping that by knitting on a smaller needle, that I will be able to get away with that, because if you knit on a smaller needle and you have a slightly tighter gauge, then you use less yarn. And it's a shawl, so it doesn't have to like fit. So here it is. I love it. I really like the pattern. You guys, I think that Suzanne Sommer is a total flippin' genius. It's amazing to me. I mean, like, this is the first time I've done 2-color brioche, and it's really fun. I'm really glad that I learned how to do it. But it's amazing to me that she knows how to, like, make these ones purple and these ones taupe, you know, and then on the opposite side, the same as, like, you know, if this one is a purple triangle here, it's a taupe triangle here. I mean, that's like a basic, like, regular thing about brioche, but I don't know, it just sort of blows my mind. And so I'm working on clue 2 now, but I made these little stitch markers. So that one's a heart, and then these like cuties over here, and then these are just like normal ones, but then this is another little heart. And some more little rose beads. In each of the rows, everything is black, like all of the knit language code stuff, like K, you know, K2 tag, all of that stuff that I can't remember what to call it right now. But anyway, all of that is in black, and then if there's an increase or a decrease, she puts it in pink. So like, it's fucking genius. It's genius. She, you know, so like you can just like skim, because I'm a total like skimmer. I screw up all the time because I don't read the pattern thoroughly enough, but it's great because you can just skim the like row and be like, oh, there's an increase in here, and it's so thoughtful. Good job, Suzanne. I'm obsessed with you. You're amazing. Okay, so now we've come to the end of the knitting, and I don't have any sewing to show you, but I would like to talk a little bit about my job. So I'm going to talk about that stuff now. If you were only interested in the knitting, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. But if you're interested in sticking around to hear me blather on about my personal life, please feel free. Sarah from the Little Fuzzy podcast. Hi, Sarah. How are you? She was watching my podcast last week and talked and noticed that I am unhappy with my job. And I wanted to address that a little bit because I would like to open up to you, my audience, because if I can help anybody through my story, I would really like to. Sarah, it was funny because, like, I only mentioned that, I think I only mentioned in passing that I was unhappy with my job, but apparently it really came across as like the source of a lot of my like unhappiness and the reason that I'm knitting a lot right now. So, like I said earlier, I am a cutter at a Broadway costume shop. I don't make any money either, but my boyfriend isn't. He works in he's a drafts person for an architectural millwork company. So he doesn't make a ton of money, but he makes more money than I do. And all of his friends are like, lawyers, or like one's like a pharmaceutical company, like lab person, and like they all are living comfortably, at like 4 years, and they're 4 years younger than me. So I just find it sort of frustrating and ridiculous that I, at 34, as like a adult woman, don't make enough money to make ends meet. Like, and I just sort of have had enough of it, and I just don't think it's worth it anymore. I don't think it's worth struggling so hard for Broadway, because Broadway doesn't inspire me the way, I don't think that Broadway ever really inspired me. I mean, I think that with theater, like I've been doing theater since I was in the 5th grade, and as a 5th grader, I was incredibly shy person, and like being in the play really helped me come out of my shell, and I also had no friends, and then like being in the play, I had a lot of friends, and so I stuck with theater because it was really fun, and that's what all my friends were doing. And like in college, I was sort of like, okay, I won't do theater anymore because it's not very practical. And I was an actress, like I said, I wasn't trying to do costumes. So I was like, I really knew that it was not very practical. So I decided to, and like, I was a good student, and like at the end of high school, I was a good student. So, I wanted to do something more academic, and so I decided to do English, but then I just was having a really hard time. I was really lonely in college, so, like in my first year as a freshman, so I took an acting class and immediately made friends again. So like theater for me has always been where my people are, and that has been reaffirmed again and again, because when I moved to New York too, I found theater friends and like immediately connected with them, and they are still my friends, and I love them. Hi Kate and Dave, if you're watching, I love you guys. But theater itself, like, is not that inspiring to me anymore. And that's not to say I dislike it. There have been lots of plays that I've worked on and like stories that have really touched me, so in that way it is meaningful for me. But the drama that goes along with it is really I find really stressful and unnecessary, because we're supposed to be doing this to like enrich people's lives and to put a smile on their face, or like to make them think about the world or something. It's entertainment, and it's art, but it's not supposed to be stressful. But it is. It really, really, really is. And I know that all work is stressful to a degree, but for costumes, there's such a narrow margin for profit, because you spend a lot of money on the materials, And also just like, I don't know, my boss has said it's women's work and that's why people don't value it monetarily a lot in the profession. So that's hard. And so anyway, that's what's going on with my job. But again, it's like really hard to walk away from because it was my dream job for so long, you know, and I still really appreciate that I've had this opportunity. I don't take it for granted, you know, because a lot of people would really kill to be in my position. And yeah, it's just, I'm really proud of myself for getting there. It's just time for me to move on and do something else. So I'm trying to do that. And I don't know what that is yet. Part of this project is about figuring that out. Hopefully I'll get there. Cross your fingers for me. Anyway, one thing I did want to say was that I really, really appreciate comments that are supportive, like that are like, oh, I hope that you get through this, and you know, whatever if you want to comment, please comment, and I would love to hear from you. But I'm really more interested in you. I want to hear what you're going through. I want to hear, like, if knitting or crocheting or, you know, whatever hobbies that you do are helping you and how. I mean, for me, it's like just a lot about stress relief, and I can really palpably feel it. When I start knitting, it's very, very calming. What is the number one struggle that you face creatively? Like, you know, what, like, is it confidence with techniques? Is it color choices? Is it like making decisions? I'm really interested to know because I've been an artist my whole life. I mean, my parents are artists, so like I kind of feel like I would, this is something I would like to talk to and maybe like help people with, because it's something that I think about a lot. It's time to end this. My voice is getting tired and I need to have some tea, and I need to turn the air conditioning on because it's gotten hot in the last hour. Oh, I wanted to show you these yarns that I bought. I was at Michael's and I bought these. So I'm going to make vanilla socks out of them. Okay. I think I've come to the end. I don't know what to say anymore. And the light is terrible. But I hope you're well. Thank you so much for watching. And it's really great that I have a couple more people out there watching. I'm really looking forward to getting to know you. So I'll pop on the screen where you can find me on the internet at the end. Until then, until next time, have a great week or a couple of weeks, and happy knitting. Thanks for watching. Bye.